Hello everybody and welcome to the BSDF1 podcast with your hosts Josh George and Joshua Constant. On today's show we'll be talking about anything and everything in the wonderful world of Formula 1. So without any further ado, let's get into this. So Josh, how's everything been? How have you been, my friend? Been good since the last pod? What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I went to Brands Hatch on Sunday to get my racing fix, which was fun. Really enjoyed that.
Excellent. That was touring car, right? The British touring car?
Yeah, British touring car. Had a little bit of F4 in there. So, you know, you got your fix of your single-seater racing, which was fun.
Sprinkling of formula.
Yeah, FIA accredited with the old music. And you could... Well, they're under... I think most of them are 14 to 17, I think. So they didn't have any champagne at the end, but... I'd assume they had some sort of sparkling lemonade or something to go up the wall, which was fun. That was good.
Yeah, bit of fizzy pop.
The Porsche Carrera GT racing was probably my highlight of the day. Saw that twice. That was awesome. 500 brake horsepower.
I'd love to see it.
Together.
I like a Porsche race car, so I would have loved to see that. I was in a field camping.
Oh, nice.
Which was exciting. That was with a girlfriend, so that was exciting. We were prepping for our Silverstone camping experience, but I would have rather been at Brands Hatch than in a field full of questionable people staring at us. You know, the most archetypal, cliche English campers in the world.
That's the one.
This bloke came out, right? We pulled up, and this guy came out, tanned as anything, big belly, orange vest, blue shorts. I'm like, wow, where are we? You know, it's May. What are you doing? It was warm, but yeah, it was a bit ridiculous. I would have rather been at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, Brands Hatch. If anyone was listening that actually went to Brands Hatch, it was a good day spoiled by the British summertime. And
the classic.
Yeah.
Anyone that's been in the UK knows about the weather. Yeah, it's
all
look
week,
at how
it
warm
was
it
great.
could be.
Oh, lovely. Gone. Sunday racing. No, you need some rain.
It's when you listen to the Met boys on the telly and they're like, "We're in for a heat wave next week, guys, so get ready."
Except for the day when there's something to do.
Yep, except when there's a big event and you're outside. Correct. But yeah, well, that was good though. But you enjoyed it overall, then, though, yeah? Yeah,
loved it. Look, it's made me when I walked in to just the like main paddock. It made me really excited, like a 4-year-old. Because I used to go Brands Hatch a lot with my dad and stuff, like when I was a kid, and it made me really excited for Silverstone as well, because I've never been to a Formula 1 race, so it's hyped me up even more for that event, which I can't wait for, which we're going to in July, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we're very, very excited. It's my first Formula 1 race. It's basically all of the gang that we have, everyone's first Formula 1 race, really, so we're very newbie from going to events. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I mean, I've been to Brands Hatch quite a lot of times. Anyway, to watch. When we were a kid, we used to watch the old the lorries, the racing trucks. They're a bit carnage, going around like super bikes and all that sort of stuff. So the racing fix has always been there, but Formula 1 just seemed a bit of a. It wasn't, you know, when I was like 8 years old, I'm like, oh, lorries, yeah, like that, and not really thinking, oh my god, I love pit stop strategy. It's like an 8-year-old.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I just wish they had hard tyres to talk about.
Oh god, if only they had tyres strategy. But anyway, any F1 news that you've picked up on recently? There's some big things that have happened literally as we started recording.
I mean. I didn't catch it till after the racing because all day had bad signal, but obviously there was the Masters event going on this weekend at Monaco, probably preparing everybody for a much more exciting event yesterday than there was actually on the race to come, except for Saturday. Charles Leclerc shunting it with that Niki Lauda's car was
traditions.
A bit of a moment for him, I guess.
The man that literally was born and raised on them streets, and he cannot seem to keep it out of a wall.
I feel bad for him, man.
Do you know what? I've just seen something. Now, I just see it before we start recording. I thought I'd keep it just for the news segment. So I just see on motorsport.com have just released some pictures of, well, first I got it from Reddit, obviously, and then motorsport.com, of these pictures that looks like the brake. Is it the brake caliper?
Yeah, apparently it was brake failure.
Brake pad.
Which brake failure
brake pad fell off.
The issue. Yeah.
So not Leclerc's fault really. He probably thought he was driving, the F1 Ferrari modern day, and slammed the brakes on with all 80 kilos of force or whatever it is. The brakes were like, nah, not having that. But yeah, that's pretty insane. I mean, broke the brake pad. Yeah, the brake pad. That's it. And you can see pictures of it on the floor before he spins. So as he's going into Rascasse, he's like hit the brakes, it's fell off, and then he spins the car. So not all Leclerc's fault, but incredibly, incredibly funny, just because it is Leclerc keeping up with those traditions of binning the car into the wall at Monaco.
To be fair, I got a tweet that I found ready for the pod, which was I'm not going to take credit for it because it was at WTF1 official, which is Charles Leclerc's Monaco curse. In 2017, he had two issues in the F2. He had brake failure in 2018. He had quality strategy fail in 19, and then a collision during the race in 19. I remember that one. Because he was middle of the pack, and I was saying how great he is passing everybody.
How is this kid passing in Monaco? Unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2020, obviously, no race. 21 crashed, and then 2021 was out of the race because of the drive shaft because of the crash. And then this year, so far, a historic demo run which caused significant damage to, which I've just looked at, is a 1974 estimated value of £1 million Ferrari that Niki Lauda drove.
My goodness.
I reckon it's worth a bit more than what they're saying about the £1 million because you can't really put a price on a car that was driven around by Niki Lauda that won Grand Prix and championships. Priceless almost.
And it's one of the most legendary Formula 1 drivers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's more than a mil. But $1 million is a lot of money for a car that you will only drive on a racetrack and probably not even drive it. Most people just keep it.
I feel
that's what's good about these events.
For him, to be fair though, because now that everyone's on his case, and I'd imagine after that event, everything is going to come down on him at Monaco because he is Mr. Monaco, and now he's got so much pressure, as on top of what Max has already given him for the championship. I feel for the kid.
I mean, I've got on my other monitor right now. I've got this meme that we see if we can add at the end. Should we leave the meme to the end, or should we do a meme now? What do you want to do?
Do a meme now. I'll edit it.
This links in. This links in. This is a good meme. It's on the Formula Dank Reddit. Where you get most high quality memes from Formula Dank, and it's in the US office when Pam is told to do the two pictures to Creed, and she's supposed to tell the difference. It's that meme, right? And it's gone Monaco GP. 3 points, and it's gone to Max Verstappen. It's excellent meme, excellent quality meme. We'll have to link it somewhere.
Yeah, send me it and I'll edit it into the show so we can get it on visuals.
It's a great one, honestly. It is a great one. But other news, anything else apart from obviously the Leclerc in the room hitting a wall again? Anything else that's gone on? I can't think of
since Miami.
Some stuff. We've got some main things we're talking about. A couple of other little things, but like small news segment stuff, because although Leclerc crashing a vintage Ferrari is relatively big news, in the grand scheme of things, it'll be fixed, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
move on. Everyone has crashed something. I think, who was it? Was it Bottas when he was doing the thing in Austin in his Mercedes, and he spun and took the front wing off? It was either Bottas or Ricardo. I cannot remember. That's a vague memory from 2017. Someone will know. Someone in the comments can tell me when that actually was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember that was. And they all make mistakes.
I'll tell you what. There's something that I remember. It's not actually this week. It's actually a day after the Miami Grand Prix. I don't know if you saw this one, which is the Bottas meme going around.
Oh my goodness! Again with the Bottas bum.
What is going on, honestly? And then my highlight for the day, I think, when I saw it when Mercedes,
that was
Instagram and Twitter admin started actually saying, "Can you please stop posting this because we've seen it," and then actually posting it themselves.
Yeah. They are so self-aware. The Mercedes admin is so self-aware. It is excellent. That admin just does the business.
He sets the bar of where admin should be. 100%.
Yeah. The comments are fire. The posts are fire. It is great. But yeah, that was an interesting one. What is up with? Is it a Finnish thing? I mean, Raikkonen never got his bun.
I don't know. Wim Hof is like he's Icelandic or Finnish, isn't he? It must be some sense of that.
I mean, he lives
get off in cold
Switzerland.
water. I suppose. Strange.
Yeah, it is very strange. Just laying in a thing, just like tell you to his girlfriend. What's his girlfriend's name again? I do know his girlfriend's name.
I have no idea. But maybe we can move on.
Moving on. Anyway,
enough of that.
Enough of the Bottas bum. Bottas's bum just works me up. I don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? Bottas. Oh. Anyway, so a little bit of news. Do you want to get into one of the things that I think really I'm getting a bit frustrated with? And it's news, it's rules. Everyone's seeing it. A lot of people are against this just for what it is. I've tried to do as much research as possible, and it's the FIA jewellery ban, right? Like, I don't really understand why this is a big deal. When at Miami there was concerns about a certain part of the track that needed an Armco barrier, which would stop the G-force, where Ocon crashed. And he crashed at not a fast speed, but not a slow speed. And it was the same G-force of Max's crash at Copse at Silverstone last year. That was at like 140, 150 mile an hour, like 50-something G. And the Armco barriers helped it. But there was none here, right? But the FIA were kind of playing blinds to that very dangerous thing. There might have been some stuff on it. There's so much news that's out here, there, and everywhere. But they were banging on about this jewellery thing. You had Sebastian Vettel turning up with his pants outside of his suit. You got Lewis Hamilton wearing 1 million rings and 200 watches, all of them Richard Mille, if you remember from Richard Mille. He's everyone's good mate, Richard Mille. And then a lot of other, it seems like it's clearly just Lewis likes to express himself via his clothes, right? Everybody knows this. A lot of people take the mick. He's very confident in what he dresses, and I've always said fashion is all about confidence. Now, this isn't a fashion podcast, so I won't go on about it. But
yeah, I don't think me and you are the two best people to talk about this kind of subject.
Yeah, I like beige, black, white clothes,
or black,
and
that's it.
With some writing that says something vague on it. That is me in a nutshell. And
unless it's our merch, which might be dropping at some point this year.
Or leak early leak, unbelievable. But yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, it's saying about that they don't want it beneath the fireproof clothing in a cockpit because it could increase the risk of burns and stuff like that. Like, it will create
you know what, though?
space.
I think this is the whole issue.
I think it's what they're saying.
No, I don't think it's even that. This rule or set of rules has been around for some time now, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the old regime or the way they managed it, wasn't checked, wasn't organised, and all of a sudden they're making a big song and dance of it. But it doesn't really make any sense because they're not using your pants you're wearing aren't fireproof. They're not saying that. They just want, to be wearing what they're saying, no earrings, whatever. But, for example, if he's been doing it for 10 years and technically breaking the rules, that's fine. But when they're clearly missing obvious, like, dangerous areas of the track, isn't that much more of an important risk to life rather than someone's earring or nose ring that may be in there? Like, there could be many things that's like people don't know. But if there's not someone from the FIA diligently checking if like that is, it could be someone's job if they carry on. It'd be like a pants checker. Are you wearing the FIA regulated safety pants that will help you from stop setting on fire if you have a bad accident? Okay, that now needs to exist because of what they're saying. But what about these corners that literally sent Carlos Sainz and Albon, what's his name, Ocon in, like, literally couldn't have a qualifying session, and also had repercussions on Carlos Sainz for feeling injured from most of the weekend. Like, why weren't these addressed? Like, every single driver complained and went on about this publicly as well, I might add. So if you can only assume what they did in the drivers' meetings and such, why wasn't these addressed? Why was all the issues around jewellery and other things highlighted in the public? Of course, it's going to be, Lewis is the number one target, and people that don't understand, fashion or get angry because he dresses in a certain way or whatever. These are the people that will go, well, of course, why should he wear like 14 watches? He's not wearing 14 watches during the race. He's making a show that you're taking away people's character. I mean, if they were doing this 35, 40 years ago, can you imagine what James Hunt would have been like?
No, yeah.
Not with jewellery, but the equivalent of the day.
Outspoken.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I think to add on to what you were saying there, when you're like, I don't know why they're doing it. I think what they're doing, they're trying the FIA, right? And I mean, I'm not a part of the Formula Idiot Association, but
you might need to retract that statement in case they need to sponsor us for any reason whatsoever.
Hold on, yeah.
Apologies.
The FIA won't sponsor anybody. My goodness. Well, was it the Federale Internazionale Automobilia, whatever it is? I'm pretty sure. But anyway, you've got the new president taken over from Jean Todt, which is Mohammed bin Salem. I think it's pronounced Salem.
Yeah,
Salem.
Correct, 100%.
But Mohammed bin Salem, he wants to, like, what I feel like, right? It's a bit of like a power statement. It's a massive
I'm coming in and I'm changing things up.
Here I am. I'm going to change this, and bang! Look at that. Look at how good this change was. You know, the change of getting rid of Michael Messi stepping down, etc. That was a big enough change to have in the FIA anyway. But this thing, I don't get it. I think there's a deeper meaning to this. I don't think he's just attacking Lewis Hamilton.
No, definitely not.
I think he's just trying to make a big thing. Lewis Hamilton is collateral damage because he likes to wear jewellery. He likes to express himself through that jewellery and clothes. Fire retardant pants, okay. Go for it. Isn't the suit supposed to be fire retardant anyway? And I'd rather have me junk burn than my face. So, if you see what I mean.
But what I was going to mention,
I don't really understand,
is that if your racing suit is fire retardant, your gloves are like evidence is when Romain Grosjean had his accident a couple of years ago, and like his gloves were like if it was a year before, the safety regulations were nowhere near up to par. Like the helmet and safety gloves were completely different to what they had that year, and he would probably been in a much worse situation. Probably won't be racing anymore. So he's lucky that it happened, but. Perhaps he wasn't wearing the regulation pants then because they wasn't hard on it. But if they've got the rule-ins, why wouldn't they hard on this maybe 15 years ago when they brought these rules in? Why all of a sudden, 2022, like you said, it probably is a bit of a power move. But again, doesn't make sense. The things that are biggest affecting the drivers... Probably Lewis, because he's like the one that's, he's the visual character of Formula One. Everyone knows
he is the target. He's the biggest guy, the most eccentric guy. He's the target of most things. Even if it doesn't seem like he's a target, it's like he wears too much of this. There might be, you might get, I don't know, if Latifi likes watches a lot, but Latifi might wear a watch. No one would have noticed. But Lewis is a big name that comes with it. You put Latifi in a room, Lewis in a room, people... from a village in the middle of the UK, you're going to know Lewis. They ain't going to know who Latifi is. Maybe one, if you see what I mean. So it's always going to seem like he's the one that is getting attacked just because of that.
I think we also have to clarify as well that we're not on Lewis's side. I don't agree with what he's doing. He's sort of aggravating an issue that doesn't need to be an issue. He doesn't need to wear 4 watches at Miami. He doesn't need to wear 17 necklaces. He could... quite easily just agree to the rules and say, yes, these are a bit bogus because the FIA haven't been policing this for so long. Why all of a sudden is this an issue? But I do agree that this should be dealt with because I'm a role model for other younger racing drivers. Because in junior racing series, like I said, we went to Brands Hatch Sunday and the races in Formula 4, these people look up to Lewis Hamilton, and if they see that he's not taking safety concerns lightly, if you crash in Formula 4, there's much more damage that can be done to your life in an accident in those cars because the safety isn't up to scratch as where Formula 1 is for obvious reasons, because there's not a lot of development because it always starts at the top and trickles down. Like, for example, they only just brought in Halo for a couple of years ago, whereas Formula 1's had that for several years.
How mad does that seem like it was, 2018? 2018 or 17. I can never remember. But that's not been around for long.
No.
That's what's scary with the Halo. It's not been around for long, and it's the scary thing, with a new safety regulation usually only comes out when there's been a fatality or a really bad accident, right? We've got Halo with Jules Bianchi. We've got the stronger survival cell at the side with Hubert. These tragic, awful incidents that they're not going to think of.
No.
So yeah, this might be the FIA trying to keep ahead of something.
I think it is, but when
it just seems a bit weird.
It is weird, and I think the issue is at the moment, people are finding this really strange, is they are hearing proper issues on a track that has a dangerous corner without energy absorbing Tech Pro barriers, and that was the main issue. This concrete barrier took in the energy of an accident and didn't displace it the way that a Tech Pro barrier does. If they're not listening to concerns of that and maybe adapting the circuit, I mean, they can do it pretty much anywhere else, but they couldn't do it here, or didn't want to evaluate why it couldn't be done, because it was Friday or in free practice 1 and 2 where they had so many issues.
Why could have very easily done it?
Yeah, why couldn't they have done it? I mean, Tech Pro is a temporary structure anyway. It's not a fixed thing anyway, so it would work in the circuit because it's a temporary circuit. So, and then you hear the issues around the jewellery. So it's like, well, actually, there's an issue with your circuit. The races are going to be going around at 130, 140 mile an hour, but you're concerned about someone's pants, or if they are or are wearing a nose ring. And
like with this thing with Lewis, where he said that he has piercings that he can't remove, right? Like they've been pierced into his body and sealed shut or something like that. Them piercings that can't be removed, what is that? It's going to be like,
I don't know. We don't need to go on it.
Pierced, right? Yeah. So we don't need to come into all of his piercing details, but it's like that. It's like would a tiny little piercing really make that much of a difference?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Formula 1 is all about
it's about
millimeters and inches.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Lewis, I'd probably say get all the metal out of your body because it speeds you up anyway. It helps Mercedes have a heavier car, which is better for
how much is that necklace rate?
yeah, come on, Lewis, get the Richard Mille off. But it's I think it's more about the stand. I mean, if you're going to complain about the jewellery and the issues behind the jewellery and what drivers are doing, because you're not hearing this from like Max, for example, who is a world champion now. He doesn't wear the clothes that Lewis wears for whatever reason. He doesn't wear the jewellery that Lewis wears for whatever reason.
That's not him.
That's not him.
Say Max Verstappen is a fashion icon.
Exactly, and I suppose he wouldn't defend Lewis because probably doesn't want to help Lewis in that camp either. But it's the strong arguments for it make 100% sense. But when you're completely avoiding the fact that you're not going to fix a fast corner that has had 2 accidents in 2 days and pretty serious ones at slow speed ish.
Yeah.
That's where you
hit that bad boy at 180. I mean, they're not going to be going, well, they could go that fast around that corner with an accident. That could be, dangerous.
Exactly,
dangerous.
100%.
But I think to move on from the jewellery thing, because the news is just flooded with the jewellery. I think
if you wanted to watch anything aside from us, there is a good part of the Ted's notebook after the qualifying from Miami, which goes into the details of the Jewellery Gate scenario.
I love the notebook.
Yeah, I do too.
Excellent.
Which I thought I'd advertise it too, because Sky Sports Formula 1 do a great job. Anyway, carry on.
Who are they? Wait, they a small creator? Sky Sports Formula 1.
Not as big as us,
I think. No, absolutely not. No way. This is the biggest, smallest podcast there is, apparently. So something I saw about a couple of hours ago. I think I was at work when I was looking at it, scrolling through the phone. Not that I'm on my phone at work, by the way. Don't do that. This quote here: Verstappen relishes title hunter role. Now, apparently Max has been enjoying the fact that he is hunting down Leclerc for a championship. Now, I always think what Formula 1 drivers say is always with a massive pinch of salt, because they just basically, it's very similar to filibustering in politics, right? They will just say any old thing to get media done, but they'll say the most vague any old thing possible. It won't actually I love the Hunter role. 2 races ago, he was telling everybody that he's counting himself out of the championship. And now you enjoy. So there's this little bit of a double standard there, but that's typical media for you. It's like, oh no, we've definitely lost, and when you win, it seems more epic. But I quite like that. I quite like that and I'm not a big Max Verstappen fan. Okay, I'm not a big Max Verstappen fan. But I like the thing that he's now, he thinks he's the hunter, hunting down Leclerc for a championship. That's cool. That's a cool little thing. I just thought I'd touch on it. I saw it a little while ago.
I was saying to myself, because I'm sad during the Formula 1, during the Miami Grand Prix, that he would much prefer at the start of the race chasing down Charles, and then comfortably seeing him off. I think he would much rather be. It's a tricky one. It sounds stupid. I think he would much rather be second and spend the whole race chasing somebody and get them, and then comfortably win, like he did in Miami, than start at P1 and go through to the end.
And like he did in
much prefers
Saudi
that as
Arabia
a racer
as well.
Yeah, he much prefers that as a racer
because he is. He is an excellent racing driver, and he wants to do racing against people. Doesn't want to race against himself on the track.
I think what I might also comment on is that we had quite a nice YouTube comment from one of the listeners saying that we need to be a bit more bold about our statements with Max. I would like to clarify, I don't dislike the racer or person Max, but what I don't dislike is his driving style and his team boss. That's what I'd like to clarify with. I'm not a huge fan of Christian Horner. Don't think I've ever have been. To be fair, I like the idea of the Red Bull team. I like what they've done. I think it's quite exciting because they add a new challenge. Ferrari is quite stiff. Mercedes is a little bit stiff. Red Bull is quite exciting. They do things completely different to everybody else.
Not as much as they used to.
Not as much as they used to, no, correct. But Christian Horner just makes my blood boil. For some
I was going to say it.
I don't know why. But Max...
It was good to get it out on the internet.
But Max, for example, if he... I don't know. It's a tricky one because I want to like him, but I struggle to because obviously being biased, I want to be a Lewis fan. I have a Mercedes, so I'm a Mercedes fan as well. But I also follow the English teams for obvious reasons. But I want to follow Max, and I like the idea of following Max, but I just can't for some reason because maybe it's from last year as well. But yeah, it's tricky. Tricky one to talk about.
I used to be, for me personally, I used to be a Verstappen fan beginning of last year. How his driving antics and his attitude were to the end of the year, I wasn't really a fan of, and I actually switched.
Yeah, I remember the switch because I remember giving you grief, saying why are you not following Lewis? He's a seven-time world champion. Seven-time world champion at the time. Why are you not following this man?
And I switched because of how they held themselves as people, and I think when you listen to the crowds, that very much changed as well. So it was quite an interesting one with how the dynamic kind of switched for me with Verstappen. But it's an interesting thing, right? Because I think he is an absolute talent, an absolute otherworldly talent, right? And if he was in another team, would he still act the same? Me personally, I don't think he would. I think he'd
100%. We've spoken about this in the past.
Is a bit of a negative cesspool. There's case studies for this. You've got everybody who's left Red Bull compared to other teams. Let's take Mercedes as an example, right? Since 2010, they've had 4 drivers, now 5. Right, since 2010, Red Bull have probably churned through 9, maybe 10 drivers. Not even giving drivers half a year, and not even when they're in a championship contending car, they're kicking people out. Look at Pierre Gasly's Phoenix, right? He's risen. Alex Albon, Daniel Kvyat when he went back to Toro Rosso, and so I worry for someone like Yuki Tsunoda, who I think is quite talented. But in that Red Bull environment, it's just such a high pressure environment when it shouldn't really be. They were always supposed to be the cool team.
Well, you look at so we've spoken about this many times. Look at Sebastian Vettel. I remember in the days, it's quite polarising. I remember playing the Formula 1 games, 2012, and being Vettel all the time. And you would actively go, no, I'm not going to have Vettel's car. I don't want to, because I don't like the way he is, because he's just too arrogant, too bolshy, too bold. He's aggressive racing style. Leaves Red Bull, joins Ferrari, now Aston Martin, and everybody loves him. And he's not changed, really. He's the same guy. He's the same racer. He still races the same. Fundamentally, the same person. Yeah. He's just, obviously, he's lost something for obvious reasons, but we won't touch on that maybe for another pod. However, the attitude has changed around him. Everybody likes him. It's everybody's favourite racer outside of their, the racer that they follow.
Yeah.
And that is the Red Bull effect. I'd imagine, for example, Checo. I was a Checo fan when he was racing in pink, and all of a sudden, I'm just not the same. I thought it was amazing when he won last year. Not last year, the year before that, when George could have won in a Mercedes. That I
don't remind me.
Loved
that's pain.
That race that Checo did. Obviously, it was pain as well. But now, not the same feeling. With the Red Bull effect.
No, I agree. I think I got an idea. We'll go on from this. To my next subject, but I think we might have maybe a smaller podcast come out maybe sometime in the week. Who knows? Listeners could get to a small 20-minute, 30-minute ramble on
shorts
about we could BSDF1 shorts, new channel idea. Not very short though.
Shortish.
But we could do a thing where we kind of talk about teams and how we feel about the teams. Maybe it will be a 10-episode series of what we like and don't like about teams.
Let us know in the comments.
There are parts of Red Bull that I like. There are parts of Red Bull that I do not like, which is quite a lot of parts. But that's me. That is, it's my opinion. I get why people are fans of Red Bull. I get why they might like Christian Horner, Max Verstappen. Like I said, I prefer Max than Red Bull. If you see what 100%. I mean with that,
I prefer Max than Red Bull.
Yeah, and I think that's, we are Lewis Hamilton fans here. So yes, we are salty from last year still. It will eventually go, maybe sometime, who knows. Probably not.
No,
but
probably not.
It's all good laughs, but we'll do a podcast. We'll do a series, I think. That'd be quite a good idea. So, moving on from the nearly accidental rant. And again, thank you for the commenter.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. Please, if you've got any comments about the pod or the format, or if you want to be involved, I know it's a segue, but yeah, please comment, and then we'll try to include you as well, because it's a community-based pod, and we like to do that kind of thing.
We like all comments, just letting us know if you're enjoying the podcast, what you're liking, and that sort of stuff. But thank you again for that one. So moving on, to the next thing. Now, we're talking about rules, jewellery bans, new jewellery rules, this. One set of rules that clearly has worked are the new regulations. So, how do you think they've been, the new regs?
What, are we 5-6 races in now? 5?
Yeah, it's been a 6th race coming in.
Yes, it's coming in. I think they're good, but everybody has been going on how good that they can follow along, which is good, but if you can't pass still, there's still something fundamentally wrong. I mean, I think evidence of that was when we watched Imola, and I say we, I mean the Formula 1 community. How
everyone,
if you went on Twitter between lap 1 to maybe 37, the trending topic in Formula 1 was why isn't DRS turned on? And I think that is quite apparent why the racing couldn't be more exciting on that day. Imola isn't spectacular for overtakes and racing for obvious reasons, but it would have greatly helped the amount of overtakes, and I think that's what everyone was screaming out for on that day.
100%.
And the regs have helped that, and and outside of obviously the overtaking, I think the regs will help teams like Haas. Obviously, they've really benefited from the changes, which is great to see, because obviously I don't want to see Haas. They got quite a cool story. So having Haas, having a really good Miami GP and then binning it, the pair of them, was quite nice to see. And when Magnussen came back on his first race and he absolutely stonked it, was amazing. They're not the meme team anymore.
It was literally reminiscent of his first race in Formula 1.
Yeah.
For McLaren.
Exactly.
Like, literally so reminiscent of it. Like, just come back out of the blocks, boom, he's a fast guy and always has deserved a seat. I think you're right, though. It's the thing at Imola, I'm putting it down to they tried what does no DRS look like.
Yeah.
And we saw what it looks like. It looks like we're all a long way off of that. I think the new regulations, they are working awesome. You know, look at Bahrain. Case study all day. Max and Leclerc within a second for like 40 laps or something. It was
I mean, they have worked. I think the only
exciting.
I think the issue is that there's still a big difference between the teams, which is, I'd imagine, something that will get ironed out over the next couple of years.
I'd look at that when it gets to the 2026 engine regulations.
That's exactly what I mean, because at the moment, Ferrari and Red Bull, maybe Mercedes come in relatively soon in a couple of races once they get the development hats on. There's a massive golfing class between the speeded cars, and the midfield area is really strong and really competitive. Like, if you have a good day, you're going to get between 6th and 10th, and you are classing literally everybody, including Williams now, only Albon. Everybody can get points.
Nice.
And that's outside of
True.
Latifi and DNFs, you know, everybody's up for points, and that's how closely together that is. But there's
and Schumacher eventually
he will get points. Let's be honest, Miami, he deserved points, and he had a great race and deserved it. But
it reminds me of Russell in Williams.
Yeah, exactly.
It
will come. It just takes time, my boy. I think that will flatten out over time, because Red Bull still got their competitive engine from Honda. Ferrari have done well with the regs, but they're still struggling with a few areas. Like, that engine is not as great as the car.
Yeah, it's.
But I think that's
the car aerodynamically is awesome. The engine, I think Red Bull. I mean, a quick little clap again for Adrian Newey, because what a genius!
Yeah.
What, like, pen and paper in the office, banging that car out. That car's a monster. That car is a terrifying monster as long as it doesn't break down. It is a ridiculous car. It is ultra quick in a straight line, rapid through corners, and it's showing that, you know, they got that reliability sorted out. If they didn't have reliability issues, I think Max probably would have won every race so far. I can't think of a race off the top of my head.
No, it's been for Max. It's been DNFs or finishes,
absolutely
isn't it?
Drove off. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's quite a scary thing when you look at it.
Proof's in the pudding, eh?
Well, exactly. But what is the big thing with the regulation change? We've said about why, you know, cars can follow, but they still can't overtake. We've witnessed this a few times. We witnessed this in Miami. We witnessed this in Imola. We've witnessed it a lot of times. One of my theories of why Paul Ricard, the French Grand Prix, La Castellet, is such a boring racetrack. And would you like to lead this one on, Josh, as this is our main subject?
No, feel free.
Oh,
no, feel free.
I'll go for it. We have been talking, and I think I've seen a couple of people, but not a lot, about why do we need hard tyres? What are we gaining as a spectator from hard tyres? Now, I remember 2018, ultra soft, super soft, soft, medium, hard, right? Too many choices. Super soft, ultra soft, they're qualifying tyres, and maybe you put them on for one lap. Yeah, whatever, they're gone. We don't need to think about them. They're a bit silly. But we've got 3 tyre compounds, soft, medium, hard. Now, Pirelli say that mediums usually on a track, I think their average is they'll go like 15 to 29 laps, right, there or thereabouts. And a soft should last anywhere between 5 and that 12 or 11 laps, right, for a soft tyre. But what I don't get is why we then have a hard tyre, which you can do a soft to hard strategy, which most of the time is really boring to watch, because most teams will just go soft to hard. Sorry, that's a lie. Most teams will go medium to hard. So, and they never put a soft on. The problem is the hard tyre, especially this year where they're using a new compound, I think it is for them, they just don't degrade. And then they take so long to warm up. Look at George Russell in Miami. If he didn't need to pit he probably would have still finished where he was, but he had to do his mandatory pit stop. Hard tyres are just so not overpowered, but they're so.
Well, just look at the mediums
boringly
in Miami.
Strong.
I think that everybody was saying it's going to be a 2-stop race, and clearly been a 2-stop race. And they said that the mediums will drop off up until like lap 19. Max didn't come in, and he was pushing hard until lap 28 or 29. Which is
29, I think he came in, and Leclerc was 1 lap prior.
And that was what 50% of the race so far. So 50% on a medium set of tire on a medium tire is pretty good going. And then once he's got that and he's got the gap, because he was still, he was doing good pace on that medium on 10-lap old tires at this time. Like he's gone over the window of what everybody was saying, which means it's now going to be a 1-stop race. Put a hard tire on, and it's just going to go to the end. And I mean, that it doesn't add value. It just slows it down and makes it easier for the front runners who've already got gap on the medium tyre.
Yeah. And when you hear that as well, when you hear them, when he's put on hards, I think they're coming to the end of the race, on the commentary you go, oh.
Yeah, really? That doesn't add excitement.
So what we're going to do
if you got rid of the hard,
is we're going to look at...
You just leave them with either a medium to start or a soft to start, which will then give you... if you start on the softs, you get a really intense 15 laps, or at the very, very most, and then you get a set of mediums, which will then, if you want to play the game, you could go to the end, it could be a potential safety risk, I guess, is why the hard tyres does exist, or stop for a second pair of mediums, or a second pair of softs.
And most people would usually say, commenters have said it, and long time F1 fans have said it, that a 2-stopper is always an exciting race.
Pit stops make racing's exciting, whatever happens, because there's so many variables. We saw it in Drive to Survive. I think a lot of the commentary that happens, it's all about, Formula 1 is literally down to pit stops and weather and good racing. And, if...
And I've heard... sorry, go on, mate.
No, I was just waffling about stuff.
Waffling away as usual. Good waffle, though. We like waffles, especially Belgian waffles. Yeah. Anyway, Spa Belgian waffle. Moving
waffling
on.
About waffles.
Well, I'm now waffling about waffles, yeah. And then somehow mentioned Spa because Belgium. Anyway, focus me. What I was thinking with the tyres, I was talking to my dad. I took him to a gym the other day, and I said to him about this theory. I was like, what if we got rid of hards? Dad's immediate... No, my dad is 67, and avid F1 fan, watched it since, like, as we said, Niki Lauda, watched it since he knew who Niki Lauda was in racing cars. He remembers these massive... He remembers the Nürburgring crash on the telly, right? Like, he remembers this sort of stuff. And he said, what I don't want is the race to be artificially manufactured by taking out a tyre, and you're forcing other errors that aren't the driver. I was like, I get it. It's quite a purist. Let the drivers drive the car. If that's the theory, why do we have any pit stops in the first place? Just put on a Le Mans tyre and just drive. But my thing with that is F1 is not a one-man sport. It's not boxing. It's not golf. It's not darts. It's ginormous team effort. You're looking at a pit crew with 50 mechanics there, and every single one of their jobs matters a lot. It's crazy. And you've got the driver is only really going to be as good as the car the mechanics make, and then it's only going to be as good as the setup changes that the mechanics can do and how quick they can put the wheels on. Having another pit stop, because it's basically everything is a 2-stop, shows the performance of not just the driver, of the team. Because if you think a team has won, winning on a pit stop strategy, it's kind of boring. But that's what a normal everyday F1 fan will go like, oh yeah, no pit stop, boring. One of my friends that I work with, Leo, he really likes, I'm pretty sure it was him that said it, he really likes the Hungarian Grand Prix, which most people go, boring, meh. But he likes it for the pit stop strategy, because it's really interesting. You've got the team has to play this it's like 4D chess with all of the other teams of pit in and when they do it and how they do it, and it makes it that deeper level of excitement.
Well, you look at Spain coming up. I remember last year. I remember watching the YouTube short that the Formula One posted about Mercedes' call with Lewis.
Which
was, and they made that scene seem like a crime thriller, but it was a tyre.
It's like watching Batman or something,
and it was amazing. But I know what you mean. But to an average fan who might come and go, like we know a few people that only watched Formula One last year for the last race of the season, and they all thought the end of the situation was diabolical. What they enjoyed was the overtaking, and if you can get some overtaking in, but also complement the diehard fans who do like a nerdy tyre strategy, and then have like a two-stop race.
And it's a big team effort.
Yeah, and it's a big team effort. That's why Red Bull, applaud them again. This is like the Red Bull praise show.
Even though we're not Red Bull fans.
No, exactly. But their team spend probably more time than any other team trying to get down their pit stops. And credit to them, 1.9 seconds pit stop with the human error button being pressed. That is immense.
Yeah, that was last year, wasn't it, I think?
And that was 2 or 3 races after they brought in this emergency change because of someone got hurt, which is a good change to bring in. No one called with that. And it just shows
heavier tyres as well, so they're slower.
Exactly, but they're still doing like they did one in Miami at like 2.2 seconds for Max, and I was sitting there, fingers crossed they would slip up. But again, this is what it counts.
Thread the nut.
Every other body's wheel and heat and wheel gun got hot except for Max's. Typical.
Yep.
But that
FIA wheel gun.
It just shows you though that it is a team effort. You can't have Max isn't the team behind Red Bull. He's a very important part of the cog that runs Red Bull, but it's a team effort, and you can't have a sport that is defined by one tyre which goes on to complete the entire race because it just flattens everything out, and flattening racing is not enjoyable.
Yeah, it's usually one of the main reasons wet races, a wet to dry race, is epic.
Yeah,
because you've got wet weather, so different set of tyres. Then you've got a pit for another set of tyres, maybe inters, and you've got a pit again for slicks at the end.
Correct. Well, you look at Imola last year, which we compare apples to apples compared to this year's Imola. Last year's Imola was one of the most exciting races going because it had so much going on. You had like Lewis going off, and then George and Valtteri having an incident. Max won at the end, I think, didn't he?
Lando Norris podium.
So much happened. I can't even remember. So much happened in that race because of the weather that you couldn't put your hat on and say that is going to be dry this bit because different parts of the track was wet. That bit was dry. Then there was a dry line, and then there wasn't because it was raining quite hard. And then there'll be a big shunt. All of a sudden, there'll be a red flag for like an hour. And that's what I think Miami was. It sounds bad on Lando, but I think he saved the race by having an accident. Or Pierre Gasly saved the race by having an accident with Lando.
A lot of memes of the Lando Norris.
And thankfully, Lando had like quite
sacrifices for his sins.
He sacrificed his car for an exciting end, and that when you can sum up a race and say, good race, but it needed rain or a safety car.
It needed a safety car. It needed rain.
Yeah, that's when a track
you never
needs
want
to
wish for a safety
either
car.
Changed or the tyre. It was too dependent on the tyre strategy. And Miami, at this case, was too dependent on tyre strategy, which is what we're talking about, the hard tyres. And for example, Imola it didn't have anything exciting going for it because they turned DRS off because of kind of rain. But again, we're talking about tyres.
And then everybody just went on hards and drove to the finish
and it's
line.
And that flattens the race. And what you need is excitement. And you don't. Yes, you have to be careful with safety, etc., etc. But there's a fine line between excitement and safety, and you've got to meet a good middle ground. You can't have it all in one camp because if you do, if you put excitement over safety, i.e., last year during the end of that last race, excitement and streaming and all of that was put aside. Safety was put aside for exactly that, and look what happened. The whole world came in on it.
Exactly.
And if you do go too far the other way, people get frustrated that safety's not of a big factor to talk about. So there is definitely a fine middle ground.
It's a difficult thing for Formula One to try and balance. Is that there's so many variables in football. You can change the way the ball is made, or the go from metal goalpost to carbon fibre, something like that, right? Not really a lot you can change, but Formula 1, so many aspects are changeable, and there's so many things that are a variable that are there, like we were saying earlier, with pit stops, with safety cars, tyres, machine parts. The list goes on and on and on. One guy makes a mistake.
But ultimately, though, that with any form of motor racing, what do we want to see? And as a fan, what would you want to see?
Fights for the lead.
Yep. And, that's it. And one
Fights
other thing.
for the
Two
lead.
things. Fights for lead and...
What else would I want to see? And...
simple.
Red Bull losing a championship this year.
It'd probably be overtake, right? I'll put the words in your mouth. It'd probably be fighting for win.
Memes aside.
Yeah, and then fighting for an overtake. And I'd say that'd probably be my two as well. You want to focus on who's going to win the race and overtaking. And the one thing I'd complain about Brands Hatch at the weekend, just to use a real world example, is that the British touring cars, which is known for having a bit of a crash and a few overtakes, was actually quite let down and beaten by the Porsche Carrera Cup, because that had loads of overtaking. So, and that made that race, which was a support race, so much more exciting. And if you can't get that right within Formula 1 and cars just follow, then you have the same issues as you've always done for the last couple of years. And
that's basically what we're saying, is our thing is, let's just do one race, right? Run race, no hards. See what happens. That's not a hard thing to get. Also, removing a hard tyre, good for sustainability, because we're not wasting rubber on another tyre, right? We've got soft, hard, into wet, done. 4 tyres, bish bash bosh, and that's all you need are those tyres.
Would we have to, if we were talking about this logically though, would we have to change the way the tyres are managed in the race? So, for example, you can only use one medium or one soft, or could you use a second pair of mediums? Because there is there is rules at the moment that go with it, right?
People do go double soft, right? In some races where it's been like a random free stopper, someone started on a medium, gone to a soft, gone to a hard, it hasn't worked, come in for a medium.
Well, what I mean is you have to have either a soft or a medium and a hard at the moment. You can't go soft and soft, could you? Because there is some sort of rule there.
Yeah, you have to use that is the rule. Yeah. You've got to use at least one different compound.
So if you removed hard, would you have to
soft?
Would you remove that rule?
No, I think it's still the same. The normal trajectory would usually be soft, medium, soft. So fast start, sustained middle, fast end.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're looking at for that to happen. And some people could double stop, extend a stint, shorten a stint, and double stop at the end. There could be so much more, but again, that's like incredibly theoretical thinking and hypothetical. It could be really good.
I suppose the only caveat to this, and obviously we've got strong for and against arguments, the two things that we would lose, which is Alex Albon not getting points in Australia and Alex Albon not getting points in Miami.
True. Also true.
That's what would happen.
I think Alex Albon is just a point monster.
Yeah, on hards.
Start raking him in soon. You watch this race win is coming soon. Trust me. Starts on a hard, ends on the hards, wins the race. The dream.
And it was a hard race, yeah.
And it was a hard race, yeah, with hard wind and hard rain.
God.
But yeah, I think that's what I'd love is anyone listening to comment about what you would think about the hard tyre situation, and comment about other things you think could be changed. Small things, don't be like, I think they should have turbo rocket launchers at the back of them. That and something that you could actually achieve,
like that car in James Bond.
Yeah, you press a button and it just opens a thing like that and it flies through. Or like a Mario Kart Blue Shell once a race where the race leader can...
You say that actually.
None of that.
In the touring cars, they've actually got a great tool. It's a bit like KERS, but it's not. So if you qualify between the 1st and the 10th place, you get less and less KERS in the first couple of laps, which is basically what that is. So basically, if Max got pole...
Stop in the fast boys.
Yeah, you slow down the fast boys. And 10th place would get the highest amount of KERS. So it gives you a reward for getting into 10th. So the middle runners, I'm not going to push that hard for 10th. So I'm not going to, put a second set of mediums on and push for a nice lap. that would give all of them people, all of them racers, I need to get 10th because I want Kers and I want to get fast for the first couple of laps. Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, and at the people at the front, they don't get as many Kers as the rest of the guys.
Bonuses.
So yeah, that could be quite. It's the change that they made this year to obviously be more sustainable and work better than the weight that they used to do, which in actual fact, and if you watch it live, it actually really, really worked well because you see going down the main straights and the short burst corners, short burst straights that go into like high speed corners, they use the curves to get round, and it makes overtaking more fun. So if you apply the same logic, because at the moment curves is just an aid to attack or defend, and everybody gets it at any time. Yeah. So if you made it anywhere, logistically only possible for a certain amount of people for a certain amount of time in the race, that could also be quite exciting. And that all would come from British touring cars. But how exciting would that be?
Yeah, and it's easy to implement. Right?
They already have it. They just put rules around them.
Yeah.
They've already got DRS, which is
DRS
exactly. They've got DRS rules already, and KERS is just a recovery system.
At a
but they use a recovery system to attack or defend, and for example,
lock out a certain amount.
And whoever's attacking, the opposite car is defending, so it just cancels each other out. So there's a gap.
Yeah, it could be a really interesting thing to add, but I'd love to hear again from what the listeners and the audience
we'd love to.
Would like to have. Loads of different things. We know everyone different opinions and stuff like that. We'd love to hear it, but we are going to have to slowly wrap up the shows. We're coming up to our finishing mark. So basically, I'm going to kind of go through what the next show will be. The next show will be a race recap, of course. Yeah, Spain, Barcelona de Catalunya is the next one. History would tell us that it's going to be Mercedes domination.
Or
I think they might be going to Spain, but without the S. Yeah, or well, Max Verstappen win then if Mercedes shunt. That's the tradition. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. We'll be kind of doing what we usually do, where we're going to be breaking down the race, the track itself, the race itself, teams that performed, drivers that performed. We'll be doing our normal breakdown stuff. Hopefully, we will summon one day our guest host. He'll be coming on. He is once again. We will leave him to introduce himself when he finally gets here one day. He's not super reliable, but he knows he's F1, and that's why we love him. So one day he will actually be here. Hopefully he'll be here for the Spanish Grand Prix one, but. There's about as much chance as Latifi scoring points next weekend.
You wait, Latifi will score points now. No, you said that.
Podium, mate. If he gets a podium, then
when
he comes in, he can never miss a podcast again. Who was the last
Williams driver to get a podium and where?
Oh, well, yeah, Mr.
Exactly.
At
Catalunya. It can happen.
Maybe it's time.
It's time.
Maybe it's time.
What would need to happen is
goated,
the other 19 drivers to have a pile up on T1 and Latifi to go through unscathed and then go on to win the race. That's the only way I can
strategy.
see it.
If he just cuts turn one, the FIA might not be looking because he's at the back, and then suddenly he's in front on merit.
I've got an idea. His dad could take this as well. His dad could pay the entire grid to not wear fire retardant pants and then employ a fire retardant pants specialist at the FIA to disqualify everybody from that race, which would make Latifi
go around with
the winner by default.
That's a genius idea. I think that is the one that actually has to go ahead. Fire retardant inspector
Pantman,
to go and inspect with their pants, disqualify all of them. Yeah, the Pantaloony.
I think you might have to be a loony to have that job.
Yeah. Well, hey, some people might like that. On that, I can't even think of a funny
bombshell.
Thing to add to the pants thing. Bombshell.
Copy one of our one of the people we used to follow as kids. If you know, you know, and we're not going to say the name.
No, yeah, if you know, you know. But yeah, so on that fantastic bombshell, it's time to end the podcast. Thank you all once again for listening and watching if you're on YouTube. Really love the support that you guys are giving at the moment, as this is our second one. The first one we got so much support from, which is awesome to see. Again, as I always say, everyone is some more opinions. We're all entitled to our own opinion. So take it as you wish. But we love all the listeners already. This has been awesome. So apart from that, we hope you all enjoyed the podcast. Once again, as usual, from this, from Josh and Josh, excellent insights into the world of Formula One from people that have absolutely no idea. Until next time, take care, everybody.
See you later.